Welcome everyone. So thank you for your time and thank you for joining our webinar. Today we have a total of 168 attendees from 58 countries. So this webinar will be presented by our Director of International Sales, Dr. Melissa Cow. And like the previous webinars, everyone is muted, but you can ask questions in the chat at any time. And at the end of the presentation, we will have a Q&A session. So we will try to answer some questions if time allows, but if we cannot answer your question, we will make sure to follow up in an email. So at the end of the webinar, all of the attendees will receive their certificate and voucher. So make sure you put your name and your company name down so we make sure to send the certificate and vouchers out to you. So I will now hand over to Melissa, who will deliver the presentation.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. I just want to make sure you can all hear me well. And if you've got any issue, put it in the chat and we'll help you out. I'm going to share my screen now. And you should see it now. Okay, hello everyone again. Thanks for coming. I think we have quite a lot of participants today and some coming in from even from the America and Canada. So thank you for joining us. It's such a early morning at your time. Good morning, and it's a good afternoon to everyone else that come from the other side of the world. So you have been with us for some of you have been with us for many years, and we have always been focusing. I think the big market has been retail, so we have been doing quite big over there. So now what we're doing today on our webinar is the office occupancy solution. So this is a different solution. So I want to introduce you on this one. Now, this webinar is going to be more focused on the solution itself, the technical itself. We're going to run another webinar to talk about the sales side, as in who will be using those data, what different position in a corporation, what kind of data are they looking for, and so forth. So we'll talk about that one in another webinar. So why these, just very briefly, why Smart Office solution? So as you all know, that obviously Smart Office is now in the boom, and it's a very massive market there. Smart Office obviously go on to about being really smart, controlling HVAC, lighting, saving energy, and the whole shebang. But this whole thing won't work unless they get people counting, because then otherwise you wouldn't know, and people counting give occupancy. So if you do not know the occupancy of each different floor, the whole building, each different floor and different rooms, then how are you going to make it smart to control all the other all the other things in the building? So this then comes with a very important data for them to make the building smart. So welcome. So to this purpose of this webinar itself, we're going to outline the functionalities of the FootfallCam Office Occupancy solution, the costs and options available, so that end users can determine the scope and timeline of their own implementations. So all of you, most of you are partners here. So at the end, we'll send you a certificate, a voucher. The voucher will allow you to have some complimentary products up to the value of $1,500. So do make use of that. Of course, then we'll also invite you for the upcoming webinars as well. As I mentioned, there's going to be another sales part, talking from the sales part. So now, as you're aware, office property, obviously in the $1 trillion market, and those people who come here who needed a smart office solution, they're multinational company. So this multinational company, every time they have a refurbishment, they're wanting to replan their office layout, they're always in a $10 million project. So they do need data to help them make further decision for that. So we have a range of product to suit their different needs, and importantly, of course, then they want the technology to last for many years. So the office occupancy system, it helps the facility managers to gain data insights on the office space utilization, how it's being utilized, how often it's being utilized, so that they can optimize their real estate portfolio. And through right sizing. So the most effective way is that you just have the right size for the right purpose for your employees' need. So I'll go through this video. We will be sharing these slides to you, so all the links will be there for you to look at. So for those haven't seen our video, I'll just stop the music. Smart office solution. So it's having the different counters at the office for facility management system integrating with that. So for example, they're able to know how often is a meeting room being used or how a desk is being used. So collaboration area, desk booking, room occupancy, washroom management to queue counting. So you analyze the space utilization. So the first step, of course, is building occupancy, even with this probably you're very familiar with the one device at the entrance, the main entrance, you can get the occupancy of the whole building. And then if they then extend it to lift, escalator, and staircase, they can then break down that occupancy of the whole building into each different floors. And so forth. If they then add it onto inside on each floor, then they can look at open space occupancy and also heat map on there and specific room occupancy. So meeting room, how often is being used, whether or not they have the correct amount of facility for their employees' need, and also to desk occupancy. So which desk is being booked, which desk is being used, and now there are obviously a lot of people going into hot desks. Then they can look at that. Employee can also look at the live dashboard to see where they have an available room. So you can also book the room so that you don't much of the struggle is to try and find a meeting room that is available. But if you have a client coming or you have a project coming up, you need team discussion, you want to make sure that you booked it. And also for desk usage as well, you can book it before you take the train to come to work, and then it's booked with your name there, and so you don't have to fight around a hot desk. So it integrates with, we have a facility booking app. It also integrates with the corporation-owned app on there. So we have other things for well-being, air quality, and also forth. And also the next thing was the smart washroom management as well, where they look at demand-based cleaning schedule. So some toilets are obviously used more often than the others. So when it's reached a threshold of how many people have used it, then it sends an alert to the cleaner to go and clean that office. So making it more cost effective on cleaning costs while improving the quality of the facility. Some campuses, some HQ, their head office is a large campus and they provide cafeteria on site. Then they want queue management so that they can stagger lunch times and so forth. We'll talk about connection later. So the key selection criteria of this company, of course, when they are picking a vendor for solution, where we're standing at advantage is we have 6 different type of IoT devices. Well, we're going to talk about all those Pro 2 minis and all those. So, and 4 different counting technologies. So it's a very wide range we have, selection range we have. This is to suit different environment, different purposes. In the most cost-effective way. So it's cost-effective and it's very flexible in the deployment. You can deploy it for just a building or split into floors and areas and into room and desk level as well. It's very easy to install. Many of you have installed it. It's an IoT device. It's very easy to install and low maintenance. And we also have built-in workflow with customizable dashboard and reports, so which is a very key thing for them. So before I go into this technical thing, we want to talk about what are the challenges or what our corporation are looking at. So office workspace has changed a lot in the last 10-15 years, and now it's always changing. It's turning into hybrid mode. So you need to it's not everyone having their own cubicle anymore. So these are the challenges they are finding. So they need to justify the office rental expenditure. Is that the right size for us? And they need to plan ahead. So the solution we're providing is allow them to be able to measure the occupancy and dwell time in each areas. Because otherwise, if they're not measuring, they can't just guess I have enough space or I don't have enough space. So they need some data to back up their decision making. Now, sometimes they need to remodel, relay out, refurbish to make it more modern for the new hybrid working mode now. So then we are able to allow them to measure the planned and actual usage of the space before and after the refurbishment, so that they can see, and a lot of time offices, when they change design, they do have an A and B design. They want to see which one is more effective, more in reality, which one is being used much better in a space planning sense. So they then have actual figure for them to A/B test it, before and after refurbishment. The third one, which is a lot of the struggle that a lot of our companies is telling us, is that they don't know whether or not they have enough meeting rooms and collaboration areas. They know a lot of time they need meeting space and collaboration area, but in the same time, they need to juggle. They need to have focus area where people can work, focus on their own desk. So they need to measure that. So we are able to measure the actual number of employees in each area. So at this moment in time, in real time, how many are in collaboration area? How many using the meeting rooms? How many is at their hot desk? So then they can see the dynamics of it. And when time they are full, when are they all full? Things like this. Then, of course, cleaning is part of a big expenditure as well. So it's very important. Of course, that's the well-being of the employee. No one wants to come to an office where they struggle to go to the toilet, or the company don't want to have excessive cleaning costs. So are the washrooms and other facilities being cleaned according to the SLA, and are the costs being controlled? And if that cost is controlled to where it needs to be. So a demand-based cleaning helps to ensure the SLA are being met at the lower cost, the lowest cost. And some which have cafeteria or they have a pantry, they supply refreshments or even food meals to them. So they need to plan how much food they need to order for the next 2 weeks. So this we are able to predict based on historical data the future office occupancy. So this becomes quite useful for that. So the end results is that the FootfallCam Office Occupancy solution can help you provision collaborative office spaces at an optimal cost. So we're going to talk about the devices that you'll be using. So a device overview in here. So we have a range of all these different product. So we did it so that it's suit for different environment. So I'll go through that. You can click on this link. You will get the data sheet for all those, and I won't go through that here. So briefly, we have 6 different devices for Smart Office. Pro 2, as you're very familiar with it, you use it at the entrance. Mini is a very cost-effective way for meeting rooms, because as you go into each floor, you might just have a entrance for the floor and you use Pro 2, fine enough, but you might have 10 or 20 meeting rooms and washrooms. So when you then are able to use the Mini, the whole project cost will come down quite significantly. So they're also using different technology. The Mini, we use time of flight. Technology is very accurate for that narrow doorway up to 1 meter, which is just ideal for meeting rooms and washrooms. The other thing is also because this one doesn't have a camera on it. So for office spaces, the privacy is quite important. So the employee may not like to have a camera, although we're not recording, even for the Pro 2, but they feel more comfortable with devices that hasn't got a camera on board. So that's why time of flight for meeting rooms. And ProWave. ProWave is one we're using an Wave technology, a radar technology. So this one has a very wide coverage. We'll go through that, and is ideal for collaboration area. Space Sense is a PIR technology. Is an IoT device, so not the normal PIR, but it uses the PIR technology, so it can detect the human. And we Mesh Hub. So Mesh Hub is now the IoT networking device. So all this can communicate with the Mesh Hub and connect to the internet. We also have e-paper display. So this display can do it in outside of a room. or on the desk for desk booking for display. So the beauty of this is that it runs on battery that lasts for years, so you don't have the wire on. So a little bit more details of all the different products here. So Pro 2, as you're very familiar with it, is a stereo camera. We generate a depth map on there. We have a video link there, as I think a lot of you have already very familiar. I won't go through that. It has a wide coverage as well. Therefore, it can cover main entrances. So you can go from 2.1 meter to 4.5 meter high, and then it can cover up to 4 meter or so width. It is GDPR compliant. It's still, the video is not recorded. It's very accurate. As you all know, that we provide you with an accuracy certificate, 99% accuracy. It's suitable for wide corridors and office entrances. So this is usually for the main entrance. And we use the Mini. Mini is a time of flight sensor. So we shoot a beam of light out, and then we measure the time of the beam being reflected, and therefore we can then generate again a depth map as well. So it has a much narrower coverage, but it can mount at a height of 1.9 meter. It's very, very low. So this is very suitable for inside the office floor, because sometimes outside of meeting room, the ceiling can be quite low, or you can just mount it just above, right above the door. So this caters specifically for that. It's very cost effective also, because as we mentioned, you might have 10 or 20 meeting rooms on one floor, then that actually makes a big difference on the overall project cost. Anonymous, no camera, so it's suitable for meeting room and washroom. The next one, ProWave. This it could be new to quite a lot of you, so I'll go through a little bit. So it's a wave, so it emits the wave again. It's reflected, and we measure the times being reflected. So it creates a whole profile of a person. It has the widest coverage, so it is for example, in an office space, then it's quite a big area. So of course, the wider, the better. You use less device on there. And the other main advantage of it is it can detect very slight movement, because in an office, you could sit down there and not move for 3 hours, unfortunately. Or even if you're standing in a meeting, you could be standing on the spot for 15, 30 minutes. So it can detect even the slight movement of that. And again, is anonymized. So this one is suitable for collaboration area, social area, where you want to see where people are standing, sitting, because those area open space, you may not have a specific sitting area. Some people might just stand around in a group and have a stand-up meeting, and so forth. So it's not a very formal sitting arrangement. Then the ProWave would be very suitable for that. And Space Sense, this is a PIR sensor. It detects obviously the heat, so it's most ideal putting under the desk, so we can detect whether that desk is being used. It's also in a meeting room on the ceiling, so we detect whether or not actually anyone is actually inside the meeting room. So it's again as anonymous. So it's a peel and stick installation, no wiring at all. It runs on battery. The battery can last you 4 to 5 years. So it's very easy to deploy. And if people move the desks around, that sensor go with the desk, and is obviously very easy to take down and just stick it somewhere else as well. So this then, and of course, the cost of it is very, very cost effective on there. So now you will have you have a mesh hub, so it then communicate with all these devices. Is an IoT networking standard. It can unifies all our devices, our 3D ProWave, Mini, our DeskSense, and all that in a standalone network layer. So then a lot of time on the corporation, they don't like you to piggyback on the network. So we can have a separate network using the mesh hub. Now, it also supports all these other communication way, like we have our own devices use RS485, Bluetooth, and a lot of third party as well, Zigbee, LoRa, 4G. So we can support up to 200 IoT devices, and it creates a separate network. As we mentioned, sometimes they don't want to compromise their own corporate security. It works with all our devices and also third party devices. Now, this room tag is an e-paper display. It's very cost effective. Again, battery powered. You can just stick it on the wall outside the meeting room, or just display it above on the desk. It's pill and stick. Is wirelessly connect with our mesh hub via Bluetooth. So it's very suitable for displaying information on the desk and meeting rooms. So if I show you a little bit about sorry, I'll probably show you a little bit more about the Mini. Meant to do that. So Mini is very, very accurate. So it is also bi-direction, like our Pro 2. It works for a meeting room door is like this. So we can also choose not to count a U-turn, and not to count all others like objects. So it has, same level of AI analytics there as our Pro 2. So it's very accurate at a very cost-effective way on there. And Pro Wave is like this. So like, for example, here you have you have a group on a stand-up meeting here. So you can detect people who are just not moving, they have slight movement. So you can detect, you can count number of people in a zone, how many are there now, and also probably create a heat map, and also things like this. For that. Now, desk booking is increasingly popular, because now a lot of it is you don't have a designated desk, you have to book your hot desk. So a lot of corporations already have a booking system, but then they don't have a display. So now you can book it before you come to work. You can book together with your team, sit nearby, and then it updates on there. On the e-paper display with your name it, so no one is going to come in and sit on your desk, and then you end up having no desk. So meeting room, likewise, again, they may already have a meeting room booking system. We can integrate with it, or we can supply with the meeting room booking app. So they can choose which room they want to book at what time, give it a name, and it will then display on there. So you won't have a director coming into an empty room and sit in and already started a meeting, and so forth. You can also allow with a QR code, so that I can book on the spot outside of the meeting room if it is available. So what we also, this is a booking system. What the counting data then allows you to show, to count whether or not a meeting room or a desk is being booked, but then no show, or someone is occupying it without booking. So it will give you that level of insight on there. So let's talk about use cases. So as an overview, so you will have the entrance counting coming into how many people are coming into the office, when is the peak hour, at different time of day, and obviously the real-time occupancy, how many people are in the office now. And then inside on an open space, you can also have occupancy counting on the different area, different zone, you can mark it. Then you can see whether or not the collaboration area is being utilized more, or the more quiet. Sometimes they have the Zen zone, where people go on a beanbag and work there. So you can see all the different area, how are they being utilized? Do you still need the Zen zone, and so forth? And also sometimes it's where you have area where you show to the customer. So customer visit, then you have a demo area, a showroom area, how often is that being used, and so forth. Then you can obviously have meeting room occupancy, meeting room booking, desk occupancy area, cafeteria, live occupancy, queue management, and predictive analysis as well for resources planning. And for the washroom, using a Mini with demand-based washroom cleaning management. So we have this whole use cases for them. Going into a little bit in each one more detail. So entrance counting, what is it being used for? For portfolio right sizing. So how many people are in the building? So I have a building with a capacity of 1.6 thousand people. How often is it being used? What is the utilization rate? How many people, do I have to upsize, downsize, things like this? And also benchmarking. For example, if we know the occupancy is 160 people on the second floor, then our AI model can give you the percentage of people in collaboration area, or percentage of people working independently at their workspaces, or where are the distribution, where are they now? So at the entrance, giving with a Pro 2, then it can give them this kind of level of data. Open space occupancy, using the ProWave. So you can have one over here, then you can now see how many number of collaboration group. So you can see a group here, then maybe here you will have multiple smaller groups on there. Size, you can see the number of groups and size of the collaboration groups and the duration, how long they stay there for. So maybe this one has a stand-up discussion that took like 15 to 30 minutes. And over here, maybe you have someone sitting down there and having a project discussion for an hour. So you can measure the number of people and the pattern of usage as well on there. Meeting room occupancy, you will use the mini, so you can look at meeting room utilization. Do they have enough meeting rooms? And if it's always fully booked, then yes, you need to have more meeting rooms. But are the meeting rooms, so you have the number of meeting rooms available, are they on the right size? So for example, some meeting room, for example, here, this meeting room has a capacity for 8. So it's always fully used, but when they are used, are they only 3 people in the meeting room? Or is it using the optimal capacity of 6 to 8 people in the meeting room? So if you find that it is always being used, it's popular, we need the meeting room space, but it's always on average 2 to 3 people, then maybe you should halve the meeting room size and make it into 2 smaller meeting rooms. So this meeting room right sizing is quite important. And whether or not it's booked and then no show, then of course, then you need to put in your policy to encourage your employee not to abuse the system. But you showed and not book, then of course, this again is employee behavior that you could work on. But with that data, then you're able to understand a little bit more. Because this is what a booking system, a lot of corporations already have a booking system. They could see that how many is booked, but they wouldn't know if they didn't book if someone is actually using the meeting room. They might still have a lot of employees saying that we don't have enough meeting room space, but they're looking at their booking app. Well, hardly anyone booked it. That's because a lot of people showed up, used the room, and not booked it. So this gives them the data to support their other system. Likewise, desk occupancy. A lot of hot desks now, the number of desks being used, the location of desks, where they are, how long people stay on that desk, the staying duration and all this. So the percentage of time working on the desk whilst in the office as well. So sometimes you have people obviously book the hot desk. They come in, they pop their things down, then they go into meetings. They go into the meeting room for meeting, they go into the collaboration area for informal meeting. And you might find that they book the desk and then they only use 20, 30% of the time whilst they're there. So then they can think about, what are the things they can do whilst with that. So for other facilities they have in their estate, like cafeteria, gym, prayer rooms, and all those, again, at the entrance, you will use the Pro2. You can also use for queue counting inside the cafeteria. So with this, a lot of time they want to show it on the dashboard. It helps employee to avoid congestion, especially cafeteria, prayer rooms, and gym as well. So they can stagger their lunch time. So, when they see now is very, very busy, then maybe they go for lunch half an hour later. So it just spread out the usage of the facility. So also real-time resource allocation. So the facility team can assign resources at the right place at the right time, and catering team can obviously, based on historical data and looking at the predicted footfall of people coming in the next 2 weeks, they can then adjust, they can plan what's the right amount of food they need to prepare and order. So room booking app. So we have an app. Again, we can also integrate with the third-party app. We do have a Footprint app. It's a mobile app where employee can book for the meeting rooms, and it then, of course, then that enhances the working experience. So they don't have to struggle in the last minute to say, okay, I really struggle to find a meeting space. So they can secure a meeting space in advance. The corporation know who secure it, and then they can display the booking status there, so that so you don't have someone else go into the meeting room just 10 minutes before you want to start and they started a meeting there. So this is increasingly very, very popular. Now with the tag, you can display it there, with the mini at the door and a space sense inside the room to detect that actually someone actually is still there for that. And desk booking, similarly with our app, then they can book a desk even before they travel to work, and hence the experience. And also we can display who has booked, this desk is booked by who. Demand-based washroom, we will have another webinar. We also have another slides which talk more about the smart washroom solution. So I'll just briefly talk through here because offices they do use this as well. So with a mini at the entrance to the washroom, we know how many people are in there at what time, and then we can send an alert to the cleaner when the threshold of number of people have entered has reached. Then we'll send an alert for them to start cleaning. So it then become a demand-based cleaning, and it's also able to measure the SLA because we know when an alert has been sent and whether a janitor has turned up. So you can identify the cleaning service KPI. So you can control that it's not over clean, not under clean. So you can optimize the cost of maintenance. And that way, of course, when the cost is also optimized, but it's optimized based on demand. So then, you know, even the cost is lowered, you actually improve user experience on there. So you're not wasting resources cleaning a toilet on 5th floor that's hardly used, but you use that resources to clean on the 7th floor. Maybe today you just have load of people using that. So that's quite useful there. So now we go into analytics. So looking at those analytics, likewise with our retail, we have company level, and then you can drill down to all the different building levels and to the floor levels. So for example, here you are able to click on this view, and we have also generated a demo, so you can show it to your client. So this is a company level, and we have live dashboard. So live dashboard is where manager can see the stats of all the offices, and this is company level, of course, and it's all the offices. So then so they can respond to it more quickly. So for example, in here, they're looking at a live dashboard. So you're looking at all the different building. It tells you, you know, what's your capacity there and what's the current capacity. Last 30 minutes, what has the occupancy changed? So it has minus 83. So maybe more people have gone out. Maybe it was lunchtime and things like this. And the building utilization. So what is the percentage of the building used now? So you can see these are obviously very busy. A lot of people turn up to work today, but this kind of building probably then is really quite quiet there. So you can look at that. So this is the demo that we will share with you, that you can share it with your show it to your customer. So on there you can also we can switch to a designer, so you can actually make changes like this. So this is customizable dashboard. For example, I can do that, and I can add things like, you know, maybe put an S on there, and then you can see that it's now changed. So you can do that. So when you click on a specific building, then this is then the detail of the building. You can go through like different hours of the day. Obviously everyone gone out for lunch there, and then they come back in, and that's now. And also you can look at the employee distributions by the different space type. So you group like those workstations where the hot desk, so the individual desk, so they work independently, and there's the meeting room, collaboration area, and all those different communal area. So you can look at the split. So you can see here most employees are in workstations right now, and the proportion was that. So you can look at, you know, at different time of day. This is live, so this is now. You can also look at, you know, the workspace utilization and, you know, amenities utilization. So you can look at it that way. Now then, you can have, this is reports, so it's historical and company level historical data. This one would allow them facility management. They want to right size their real estate portfolio, so they can look at that. So for example, in here, building level, so they can look at, for example, on a map, the different building where they are. Some are bigger buildings, some are smaller offices. Then they can look at, percentage of time, percentage of busy time. You can set a threshold where you consider it to be busy. And obviously our average building time. And this is a demo, so you can zoom in, zoom out on there. So look at the different building there. And if you can click on one of it, and then this would then be that building. So average building utilization, it has increased over the last 120 days. And employee distribution by space on average, you still need a lot of hot desks. That's because that's where your employee is, and so forth. And you might find that the meeting room, they use a lot of collaboration area as well instead of meeting room, maybe. And then, which building uses a lot of meeting room? You find that building A, building E, for some reason, they have meeting rooms, but on average, they don't utilize it that much. So you can, depends on maybe different buildings, they are used by different teams, so forth. And then workstation utilization by the different building, and a collaboration area likewise as well. So then you look at meeting room utilization and the percentage of time utilized by the space type. So this are number of, the period of time throughout the working day where that area is being utilized. Sometimes that area is underutilized. You maybe have one or two people in a collaboration area, so it's not fully utilized. So you can look at all this that way. Historical, of course, then it's reporting. They can, of course, then again, they can also customize it the way they want to analyze on there. Now then, you can go to, those two were the whole company, and then now you go into regional. So maybe your regional manager is looking at that, and they can, of course, again, like the retail one, you can group them into different region, as I've shown you just now over there, like this. And then you can go into the building level. So this is a building level dashboard. So you can look into the different zone. So zone M2, the number of time being where it's well utilized. Again, that's the threshold we set when it's being like 80% occupied in that space, then that is considered well utilized. If it's only about 20-30% of the capacity of the area, then of course then it is underutilized. When you have more than the capacity, then that's overutilized. So you can see, in zone 2, different time of the day, how many percentage. So this one is now only 28% of its capacity. So this space is obviously underutilized. So you can look into those, and when is the busiest hours and which floor is very busy. So you can, and throughout these hours on there, and in zone, the different zone that are most well utilized, what type of are they workstation or meeting rooms, and so forth. So you can look at that, and you can also look at space type. So you drill down to the different space type, and for example here, you're looking at that specific space type for the last 3 months. Then you look at the different time, of course, lunchtime, they're all out. When is the peak hour? And like, for example, meeting rooms. So these are the small meeting room. This is probably a board room. So if you look at that, what the number of time is being used and number of time is not being used. So you can see that this is probably not being used very often, and that one too. And when it's being utilized at the optimal level. So 1 to 3 people. So you have some times when it's underutilized. That means maybe there's only one person in that meeting room. So is it because that person couldn't find a hot desk, or is that person needed to be on the phone call and needs to be quieter? So if you find a lot of this kind of usage, underutilized on a small meeting room, then maybe you should provision some pods, those single person pod, for them to be able to make calls and things. And of course, then this is a super large meeting room, a boardroom. A lot of time is underutilized. So you see that it's being used quite often, but a lot of time it is underutilized. So what does it mean? So it means that maybe you don't have enough of all the other meeting rooms. So people have to go into a boardroom to have a meeting, but they don't have 13 people. That probably is just about 5 or 8 people using it. So that's why it's underutilized. So then you might want to have less of those meeting room and so forth. So this will then be able to get them a more, finer detail analysis on there. And for example, here then is on the specific time and day, throughout that day, that room. So this is specific room now. So you can drill down to specific room. You can look at that. So the whole morning, nobody use it, only in the afternoon. So this room is a facility that is underutilized. And whereas this on that day specifically, then you have been quite more. All right, and I'll continue. So with this office optimization, I will show you here. So what they do is that they this is current. So this is the current capacity. So they might want to simulate, what if I increase a little bit of capacity? I move to a slightly bigger office and I increase that one. Or I rent another floor upstairs and increase that. Now, this is then your current or your historical throughout, last year, this year, and so forth. And then you get a predicted. So according to this trend, what is going to be my predicted occupancy for the next 5 years. So for example, like this, and then so you can see that, and then when it will then be not enough. So this would then allow them, so then they can do some simulation and so forth. So they can do a whole building. They can obviously do the different collaboration area. If they're seeing a trend of more collaboration area being used, a decreasing trend of workstation, because maybe if the people want to do a focus work, they will stay at home and work from home. They only come to office when they want to do a meeting. So things like this. So they might see a trend like this, and then they might want to reduce the workstation resources and increase collaboration and meeting room resources. So they can do that. They can obviously export this as well. And for further analysis onto somewhere else. So a lot more analytic report in here. I won't go through too much detail. It's just, for example, like here is a live dashboard. So you can let your security guards know where people are occupied on each different floor, for your employee to know which room is available, and they can go and use it. So a live dashboard like this. You can also obviously have site level utilization as well. Again, all the different meeting rooms, washroom. So for example, reports like this, so they can, the facility management, who is in charge of cleanliness of the building, they can see if the KPI is being met, when is the washroom being used most. So based on this, they already know, okay, so a clean is probably due there at 2 o'clock, and then maybe another time at 7 o'clock. So then they can kind of like do a schedule and also an alert, and combining both, using it the most cost-effective way of dealing with the washroom. And also washroom like this is for the cleaners work calendar. So we have all this with like the different cleaner. This is the shift they come in. This is when they're actually doing a clean on which washrooms and so forth. So, and then they can predict the coming days, when are the clean that needs to happen. So when the 2 clean needs to happen here, then maybe it will be these 2 person who is on shift to do it, and at those time will be this 2 person on shift that will do the cleaning. So we have quite a lot of different dashboard and reports on there. You will be able to click on all these reports to look at it, and all the reporting suite. So then we want to talk about integration on there, the cable and network cabling. So from the mesh hub, we can support the RS485. So you can do a daisy chain from our mesh hub to the mini, to the ProWave, to the same floor. So the ideal is that you will have 1 mesh hub, 1 to 2 mesh hub per floor. And from there, then you can do a daisy chain. So it doesn't have to be a PoE Cat5 all the way to the IT cabinet. So this because it needs a 12-volt power for this ProWave Mini to power up, but the data connection, it will be via Bluetooth or wirelessly to the mesh hub. And then from the mesh hub, then of course you connect it to the router and then go on to the go to our cloud server where our reporting V9 is. So for SpaceSense, it's completely wireless, it's run on battery, and it connects with Bluetooth to our mesh hub. So another way of networking as well, our mesh hub is LoRa. So even the different floors, so like this is second floor, first floor, and then you have ground floor, you can use LoRa to connect to an IoT gateway, your gateway, or we can also supply our mini computer as an IoT gateway using LoRa connection. Then you don't have to have floor to floor cable connection. So from the mesh hub, you can use a RS485 to daisy chain power the minis and ProWave and with wireless connection for the data to all the other techs as well. We could also, the mesh hub could also act as a hub or gateway for third-party devices like smart meters on there. So I can go through here because we have an open architecture. You can zoom into the diagram a little bit more. So we can work with third party like temperature, humidity sensor, carbon dioxide, smart light switch, smart light relay, smart meter, water meter, energy meter. So we can connect all those by LoRa, Zigbee, and Bluetooth, all into our mesh hub. So you can then become a central hub for all these other devices as well. On there, then connect up to our analytic manager for the data analysis. And also we have rules engines. So we can say if the fifth floor occupancy drops to 20%, then I will switch off the air conditioning. So you can have rules engines to send instruction and command to HVAC, to light switch, and all those. So this is where all the commands go to. We can like backnet connection, Modbus, MQTT, like backnet connection to HVAC. So we can have all those connection as well. And we have API. We do have a separate webinar that talks specifically about API, so I won't go into details. So as you know, we can integrate our people counting data with third-party software. So their own facility management software like Planon and all those others. So we can integrate into those software platform via API or FTP, and it's real-time data retrieval. And the data can be in raw format or aggregated format. We can allow a lot of customized scripts, as you know, with our API. We do have all those document and video link on here. We will also, if you need, let us know. We will also share you the video link for our webinar, which is on API integration. So we have IEEE 802.1 certificate as well. So we supports that authentication protocol, so allowing greater security of your own network. So if the client have that network, so we can do that while using our counters. So we have all that. So typically the radius server must be readily deployed, and then on a PoE switch that has those enable ports. So then we can internet connect and authenticate with our counters and the radius server. So we have that, so we can install the certificate that's generated by the radius server. So just quickly, some of the case studies. This is a massive growth in here. We have lots and lots of inquiries and a lot of proof of concepts and projects being deployed throughout. But I just want to share some of the cases. For example, Regis, a lot of you know this, they provide service offices, virtual office meeting rooms for rent and all those. So they have many different locations throughout the country. They deploy smart building strategy for them. So they have members and non-members. So they want to look at members versus non-member footfall ratio. They want to look at the traffic flow and pattern. Where do the people go? Their facility utilization, because it's very important to them. So they need to have provision for the right type of facility for their members, and of course in connecting with their HVAC, their lighting, so energy optimization as well, because that is a big cost for them. They certainly do not want to turn on floor 7 when hardly anyone's there. Another case studies, this is American multi-level marketing company. Their offices is a combination of office as well as customer visitor coming into their office. So previously, during the COVID time, they have a lot of social distancing compliance, occupancy restriction on there. Now they're more wanting to use for efficiently using the facility management, so for their experience center, because they have an experience center with where you have the market retail area, meeting room, cafeteria, and all those. So they need footfall data to allow them to gauge the efficiency of those and adjust accordingly. So they also integrate with Magic Mirror display. We have another product which is Magic Mirror for real-time occupancy at the entrance and control traffic, and also space planning as well. WeWork is another American company. They offer shared workspaces for startups, and for other enterprises. They use the anonymized time of flight. It's very important for them. They have no camera inside the office floor, so that's why they are using that for total privacy, and a desk booking app for that. So that wraps up my webinar today. I hope I've given you some insights into what is our office occupancy solution. I think, I believe if some of you have questions, they have been answered by our panelists. If not, we will follow up with emails on there, and we'll be sharing the slides with you after that. And should you want to share the video with your colleague, let us know, and then we will share you the link for that. And thank you very much. So if you're interested, let us know. If you're interested in another webinar on, we will talk about the sales side of the smart office solution. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.